video for hopeless romantics. Is anyone here a hopeless romantic? I kind of am. What is a hopeless romantic? What it means to be a hopeless romantic and 5 signs you are one. Don't you just love love? Raise your hand if you're a hopeless romantic, someone who has an idealized view of love. It's okay, we are too. Chances are you tend to think of relationships as fairy tale-like romances, and look for your soulmate in every partner you're with. Regardless of red flags or past experiences that might suggest otherwise, you truly believe that, ultimately, love conquers all. Okay, yeah, that's me. Hold. I feel like I need to. Oh. Nice. Okay. Hopeless romantics wear rose-colored glasses as their desire to love and be loved causes them to see the fantasy version of the person they're with instead of reality. Oh, damn. So it sounds like they're really susceptible, probably, to unfortunately being taken advantage of. Prove me wrong, because everything is pointing to my side of it. I'm definitely not the romantic part of it. Oh my gosh, Eagle. What are the romantic traits of a hopeless romantic? You have a fairy tale-like view of love. You love fairy tales, rom-coms, where charming characters meet, fall in love, and live happily ever after. You probably have a fantasy of what your happily ever after looks like, and you probably date as a means to find a partner to fit the fantasy. Okay? You get invested in relationships very quickly. You idealize your partner. If you tend to put your partner on a pedestal you can't reach, chances are you're a hopeless romantic. You give a lot to each relationship, and you ignore potential red flags. That is what a hopeless romantic is. That said, I do know when to bring myself back down to earth. Okay, that's good. That's good. Making the VTube studio game visible is a fast way to give yourself an ego boost. It's almost like looking at yourself in the mirror. Them. Look how beautiful I am. God, this sounds like everything I'm not. Oh my gosh. Katsuya too? Damn. Alright, well, we're gonna watch a video, that is for hopeless romantics, so let's see.
I had an interesting thought the other day. Do you think our hunter-gatherer ancestors fell in love the way we do? While they were roaming around with the tribe, picking berries and shit, did they look into one of the tribe members' eyes and think to themselves, damn, I really love this person? There's no doubt in my mind that they were attracted to each other. I mean, they kind of had to be in order to consider reproducing with someone, but what exactly was love to them? Could they even conceptualize love before we gave it a name and attached certain attributes to it like we do today? Or did they just feel some good stuff happening in their body and not think too deeply about it? I ask these questions because I think our idea of what love means has transformed so much over the recent years that it has become almost unrecognizable. And without knowing what love truly means, you're subject to a lifetime of potential misery. But first, let's establish what love
it's chemicals
isn't,
in your
so
brain,
you don't confuse
really.
yourself. Love is not a chasm you cross instantly. When I was young, I had a really bad habit of seeking a perfect partner through a set of ideals. In an ideal world, I'd be in a bookshop browsing through the nonfiction section, and I'd see this pretty girl pick out a self-help book and start reading the first few pages. I'd say to her, "Ah, the power of now. Eckhart Tolle really changed my life." "Oh my gosh, really?" she'd say back. "My friends know how much I like this stuff, so they thought I should check it out." We'd look into each other's eyes for a few seconds, staring deep into each other's souls,
and the rest
press
was
our
history.
lips together before leaving the store holding hands. I fantasized about this type of love often. I'd catch glimpses of it when I walked by a woman who smelled nice, or when a woman gave me an extra bit of kindness, which many men mistake as her being attracted to them. Then I'd start creating an entire romanticized scenario in which her and I spent the rest of our days together.
Oh no.
Many young people get stuck in this cycle of limerence, which is a state of mind where you obsess and infatuate over a version of a person that doesn't even exist. And then when you truly get to know them, you do either one of two things. You either blind yourself of their flaws, mistakes, or any other personality traits that don't fit the criteria of their ideal version in your head, keeping the dream alive as long as possible. Or when you see them for more of who they are, and those feelings of butterflies in your stomach fade, you move on to your next infatuation, wondering if you'll ever find the one. In both cases, the reasoning behind your behavior is the same. You think love should feel like floating on a cloud. Effortless, serene, soft, and void of blemishes. I used to think this way due to how the idea of love was taught to me in the movies and TV shows. Guy meets girl through some accident, guy and girl look at each other for a second before laughing and walking away. Then as they walk their separate ways, they occasionally look back at each other as they smile, and the rest is history. This is where the idea of a love cat.
God, she didn't even look back. Wow. Oh man, yeah, these were my kind of movies. I mean, they are still my kind of movies. But I never like fell for the whole that's what love is gonna be like, I guess. I never really fell into that hole. In an ideal world, I'd be a billionaire on a yacht. Hell yeah. Same.
Chasm comes in. There isn't a singular line which distinguishes between whether you love someone or not, and you certainly don't cross that chasm in the first day, weeks, or even months. Similar to this idea of instantly crossing a chasm of love, love is also not something you stumble upon.
No.
People love to use the phrase, "You'll find your lover when you least expect it. Don't search for it, and it will come to you." This must have been a phrase invented by really attractive people, and thanks to the halo effect, we just assumed that it must be true. Love also sounds so much sweeter and romantic that way too, doesn't it? I can just stop looking for love, and then by some divine stroke of luck, the woman of my dreams will approach me and will live happily ever after. That sounds incredible. I understand stories like this probably exist, but how many of us are using this phrase as an excuse to not put in any effort for love? This is another huge problem I have with today's standards of love. If you are constantly seeing images of ideal love scenarios, happy couples that secretly have huge problems, or people who are much more attractive than the average person in real life, you start thinking to yourself, well, look at all these people. They found.
Honestly, though, that did happen to me, though it's not that I did absolutely nothing. Yeah, like, see, I've used that where, too, like, where I will tell people, like, oh, you know, like, it'll come to you if you stop looking, or blah, 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 whatever. But I guess, in reality, that just kind of means it'll, quote-unquote, find you? I don't know. In the sense, like, I don't know, you'll just get to know someone eventually. You'll get to know them, you'll spend time with them, and one day you'll kind of just realize that, hey, you kind of love them now. You know? Like, Swan, maybe you and your girlfriend met, or she introduced herself to you one day. You didn't have to do that. But that still took your effort of hanging out with her, getting to know her, spending time with her, and you guys eventually fell in love. So, it's not like you just... she found you one day and you instantly fell in love. It's not like that. Like, it still does take that effort.
Perfection in the form of a person, that means I should wait for it to come to me too. Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't have standards for yourself. I actually think it's quite useful to write down the things you're looking for in a partner so you don't end up in a relationship that reeks of incompatibility. And I'm also not saying you should settle for a meh relationship just so you don't have to be lonely anymore. What I am saying is that settling often isn't what you think it is. Making it a real effort to put yourself out there and find love instead of letting it come to you is not settling. It's breaking through a fantasy and going after what you want. So many of you who watch me are into self-improvement. So many of you are working so hard to achieve results in the gym, in your finances, in your journals. But when it comes to love, you somehow think it should be different? Like all things in life, you have to set the intention for love, make an active effort to find someone who you can build a life with, and be realistic about how flawed we humans really are. Though I must admit, I have found a love that I've created an infatuation around, and it's never let me down. It's video editing, and to enhance my video editing, I use today's sponsor, Motion Array. YouTube is now my full-time job, and a huge part of that is due to the fact that I was able to stand out from most other YouTubers through my high-level editing. If you're someone who's trying to stand out on YouTube as a beginner or even an expert, and you don't want to spend thousands of hours trying to make a single cool graphic, you should definitely check out Motion Array. It's a marketplace with tons of video assets like templates, stock footage, photos, music, and sound effects. I actually used Motion Array to create a couple really cool effects in this video that you've already watched. All you have to do is download the asset, drag and drop it into your timeline, and you have a beautiful graphic or transition that would have probably taken you hours to make had you tried to do it from scratch. It's membership based, meaning you can pay for a month or a year and you'll get access to literally everything that they have. But if you want to just try it out, you can try it for free, but you won't get access to everything. So if you're looking to make a career in video editing or YouTube and just become an expert in this craft, then you can go to the first link in my description, and that will get you $50 off Motion Array. And that leads me to the last thing that love certainly is not. Love is not easy. One of the hardest things to differentiate between when you're in a relationship is whether this mishap, mistake, or argument that caused conflict between you and your partner is worth solving or is an indicator that you two are not compatible for each other. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my experience. In my 27 years on this earth, about 10 years of those have been spent in 3 serious relationships. And the first 2 of those ended in complete agony. I always have to laugh at how naive I was back then. In my first relationship during high school, I let so many things my girlfriend did slide just so I could say I had a girlfriend. We'd argue about her going out or me going out or how she didn't like my friends and thought they were degenerates, and we'd kind of make up without having actually learned anything in the process. That relationship was destined to fail. The second relationship, however, was better. I felt like I was really coming into my own during this time. It was college and I had just started getting into spirituality, self-improvement, and starting this YouTube channel. In other words, I started to become capable of having mature conversations that led to the growth of both of us. But in the end, I got dumped again. It's very possible we could have made that work, but I think we were both kind of under the impression that it should have been easier than it was. That heartbreak during COVID was excruciatingly painful, filled with many days of depression and tears. But I was finally starting to understand all the things that love was not. And that was when I met her. We began thinking nothing of it. It had been 2 years since my last relationship ended, and the one thing I had been telling myself on first dates was to have no expectations. Very different from those ideal, dreamlike expectations I had as a teenager. Like me, she had also just moved to Austin and didn't know what would come out of her dates. So we started speaking about our interests. She was a data scientist working remotely and escaped to Austin because her friend had told her to come here. Beautiful and intelligent. That was a plus. She noticed my berserk tattoo on my arm and asked me about it. Turns out she was into anime too, even though she gave no hint that was the case in her Hinge profile. The conversation felt effortless and the date continued even after we finished eating because we both didn't want it to end. I knew I wanted to see her again, and so we saw each other again and again and again.
And again and again, and then they fell in love and they lived happily ever after.
Weeks went by and it was starting to get serious. Things with her felt natural. It felt like she brought out the very best qualities within me, and I wanted to keep experiencing what life was like with her. So I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. But there was still so much that we didn't know about each other. She was born in a different country and came from a different culture. I'd often say things to her or do things that felt like no problem to me, but clearly annoyed or frustrated her, and she did the same to me. Luckily, by this point, we were 2 mature adults and we could communicate through the differences.
Yes, thank you.
The way in which we could communicate and resolve things was so much better than my previous 2 relationships. After each new difficult period we went through, my love for her started to grow more and more. But love is not easy. After my second girlfriend had broken up with me, and the feelings that I felt at that time, I thought that I would never consider marriage again. But I had grown a lot since then, and I was starting to change my mind. It was now about 1.5 years into this new relationship, and we started asking the difficult questions. Do we want to marry each other? When would we like to get married? Do we share enough similar values in marriage to make this last a lifetime? I hadn't really considered these questions when we first started dating, and she hadn't either. And this was when the differences in how we conduct our lives really came to light. As we neared the 2-year mark and we kept having these conversations, fears were starting to creep up on me. There were some non-negotiables we had that were difficult to agree on. And could I really be the best husband I can possibly be at 27? A valid question, but when would I ever really feel ready? After more conversations and a few more disagreements, it was looking like this would be the end of the healthiest relationship I'd ever had. And so we decided it would be best to separate for a while. During this difficult time, for no reason at all, I stumbled upon the movie La La Land. And if you haven't seen it, the ending can really stab a knife in your heart. The main message is that sometimes everything in a relationship feels perfect and you both love each other a lot. But if your goals in life are too different, then you have to split up in the end to reach your dreams. As it appeared we were about to leave our relationship on very cordial terms, just as it was in La La Land, I took this movie as a sign that my destiny with this woman would feature the same fate. But then I remembered what love isn't. I had found someone I had loved through the good days and the bad. Someone I could call my best friend, partner, and someone who had taught me so much about myself. And I didn't have to sacrifice any of my dreams for her. If anything, she only made actualizing those dreams more possible. She highlighted areas of myself I knew I wanted to work on, and although facing those areas was often uncomfortable, I needed to have those confrontations to become the most confident, secure man I could be. I needed them to be the best husband I could be with any woman, and how incredible would it be if that woman was her? So after some time apart, we met up again. We discussed issues that continued to bring themselves up and really made the commitment to work on them like we never had.
Yeah, exactly. This is what love is, all right? You have disagreements, you have arguments even maybe. As long as it's nothing actually serious and whatever. But in the end, you work together, you make compromises, you improve yourself for each other. And yeah, I mean, what else can I say? This is what love is.
Before. And I can confidently say months later that I'm the most secure I've ever been in a relationship and with myself because we decided to show up for each other where we had never thought to show up before our relationship began. Our story is not the stuff of fairy tales. We met on a dating app. We first saw the world quite differently. She falls asleep at 9 p.m. when I try to show her a movie and I get frustrated because the best part was about to come up. There are plenty of moments in our relationship where I've wondered how we're gonna get through this, but for every one of those moments, there are 5 more moments where life feels like a fantasy and I wonder how I got so lucky. I'm certain that there will continue to be difficult times in the future, but now 100%. I know that we can get through them. And that's what being in love is like. Love was not what I thought it was. It's something much better and more fulfilling. It requires dedication, development, growth, and at least a little bit of struggle. And that makes for the best fairy tale of them all.
Aww.
I love you guys. Well, the idea of you guys platonically, of course. If you want to check out my free self-improvement community where you can talk to other people, maybe about the idea of love, it's linked in the description below. And
I love all my fluffles platonically, no parasocialism.
You like these videos where I talk about serious relationships, and if you're looking to find love in the modern age, I actually created an entire playlist on how I have created serious relationships and spent years with somebody and eventually has led me to this now engagement. So thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Ooh,
sheep weren't always
who are much more attractive than the
Okay. Aw, that was a cute video. Now you all know what love is. Alright? Now you know what love is. There's still a conversation that me and my girlfriend had that I still think about today. Ooh. I won't pry, but you're welcome to share. If you want to. Don't worry, no parasocialism here. Just paracapitalism. I love you too, platonically, of course. Aww. Moral of the story, don't fall in love. That was not the moral of the story. Oh my god. No, the moral of the story is that love takes work and effort. It's not easy. It was nothing too much other than discussing struggles and boundaries. Oh, okay, yes. Yes, those are very important conversations to have. Are they hard to have? Can they probably be awkward sometimes? Yes. But they need to be had. I learned love from war games. The only winning move is to not play. Oh my gosh. Teagle, go watch all the Disney movies right now. Or be forever alone if you're lazy. Damn. Well, you guys should go to his YouTube, okay? Subscribe. And he said, look, creating a serious relationship in the modern age. You can do it. You can do it. I believe in you.